after the last session was how do we start to drive revenue, and how do you evolve the revenue generating streams within your businesses. So this, I'm going to spend 15 minutes with you. It's really talking about my personal perspective in it and what I've learned over the last 3 months, 6 months, and how we see businesses evolving and what they need to do. I believe that following a very simplistic formula is absolutely critical, and it should be built in a foundation of metrics. So you might find that I'm oversimplifying things, but actually the simplicity is the beauty of the process. And at the end of the session, I'm going to show you some stats of some businesses that we've been tracking and following, you know, a reasonably large group of businesses, and the metrics and what the people have been doing and what the averages are. I think there's 3 parts to every single business. Part number 1 is sales, and part number 2 is product, part number 3 is operations. And I think as business owners, as managers, whatever we do within businesses, we tend to focus, or people tend to focus on product and operations, and sales tends to be a dirty word. It tends to be something that's not, it's not treated with the same level of respect that the other 2 parts of the business are. Yet my belief is that all 3 areas have to be equally balanced in how you approach them. And I think the world has to transform itself now and sit down and say, well, actually, I like the word sales. I have to reinvent how we think about it. And part of the problem comes from the fact that salespeople tend to be a bit naughty and arrogant and approach things the wrong way. They're very difficult to manage. There's no metrics around them, and there's challenges that come because of the way sales teams are run and the leeway they're given. But I think also that has to change. I'm not going to cover that today. It's a topic in its own right. But I do think we should all be going back to basics. Why do we need sales? I think I always like these slides because I think they frame out the philosophy on sales. I think sales has changed. The days of closing and the days of you know, high pressure and all of that stuff's gone, right? You know, clients don't want it. Nobody wants it. Nobody likes it. And Mark Roberge was the CEO of HubSpot, took it from 0 to $100 million. And he was a quant engineer, and he did a regression analysis on all of his recruits every quarter as he navigated through that process. And he found a negative correlation with closing ability and needs identification with sales success. And we find the same thing, right? You know, people that are natural closers aren't popular anymore. Nobody likes it. Nobody gives them referrals. They don't scale their businesses. And yes, there's exceptions to the rules, but it's not the norm. Actually, the balanced, well-prepared, adaptable, domain experienced person performs far better. And why do we need to get it right? Well, I mean, these are the stats. You know, 1994, 22 years later, only 19.5 businesses were left out of 100. So goodness knows what's going to be happening here. I was talking to one of the key influencers in Scotland on a Tuesday, and he said that once the businesses come out of furlough, they are guesstimating conservatively 30% of people that are on furlough are not going to have jobs. It could be a lot higher. It could be as high as 60%. So in the UK, they're going to have an enormous problem. I suspect it'll be the same in Australia. I suspect same in Singapore. Singapore's talking about a very high rate of unemployment, the highest that they've ever had. So things are not looking brilliantly for a lot of businesses. And the future for me, we've come through the disasters and we're in this adaptation world now, where there's a new world coming along. And then I think we step into a new future. I stole this term from someone else today, actually, the new future. But I think this new norm's an overused phrase. I think what the future is going to look like, we don't really know, but we're going to be changing consistently with it. But each of us will have a different sort of path that we go down. But I think we're stepping into this now. There's a clear sort of outcome coming. So selling, for me, is underrated. Yeah, right. When I look at the world, I don't see people understanding the complexities involved in the selling process and the sales process, and I think this is what holds businesses back. I think when you look at the breakdown, you've got source of names, generation of names, categorizing them, nurturing them, booking meetings, doing meetings, onboarding your clients, and then you've got all the back office stuff that sits with that metric. At CRM, we need CRM, and people are not using CRM properly. And again, I'm not going to go into that bit. It's a clear reflection. The fact that CRM is not used properly the lack of control that businesses have over their sales models. You need a metrics-based sales management model, admin support, team members assigned roles in each process, continuous development. If you're not developing your people, they're not going to get better and they're not going to improve their revenue models. And then finally, all of this is underpinned by the templates that you have as a business, analytics, marketing, and content development. So I'm framing this out because it is a really, really complex topic. I believe there should be a degree in it. There's not a degree in sales in the world at the moment. Yet as a third of a business, the responsibility of business growing, right? And I don't really get it. But the lack of a degree and lack of structure is one of the causes of big problems within business. So let's start with lead generation. And I really am going to cover the process of how do you reach out, how do you strategically go out there into a marketplace now, what sort of things should you be thinking about, and how would you do it? Lead generation for me is where are my leads? Where are they? Right? How do I find them? How do I get in touch with them? And there's no need to cold call anymore. You can build a model successfully with zero cold calling. There's just no need for it. Nobody likes to do it. Nobody wants to do that. You can have a call center doing it for you, which is fine, but nobody as a sales team wants to cold call anymore and has any need to. Right? We don't see a need for it. You need to bring the leads in, though. You need to be reaching out strategically. We believe when leads come in, you've got to have a clear categorization model on what you're doing with them. And then you need to nurture your leads, nurture your contacts, nurture your clients, have a nurture model there that sits around it, and be booking meetings on an ongoing basis. So that's just your lead gen process. It's a small part of the business. It's critical. Yeah. Breaking it down in more detail, lead generation sits around inbound marketing, it sits around outbound marketing, and it sits around existing clients. So you've got three different things going on there that are all equally important. I'm going to touch on outbound marketing because I think that's how you drive the change. For me, the secret as you move through this next 3 months is to have a really solid outbound marketing model. The inbound, if you've not got your inbound campaigns running now, I would suggest you do get them up and running, but they're going to take 3 months, 6 months to start to create fruits. We should have an inbound model and we should be optimizing our leads. Existing clients, again, we should be servicing and have a strategy there that sits around servicing our existing clients and how we engage with them. But outbound for me is the answer. Outbound's the way that you can, in a controlled fashion, drive activity within your business to the right people and start those dialogues going on now. Yeah. So how do we get outbound? I think there's three simple formulas around it. One is referrals and building a solid structured referral model, a partnership model. Most businesses have a very random partnership model where they have a few partners, but they don't have a rationale behind why they have partners. They don't have a formal relationship and a structure around running their partnership models and bringing referrals in a consistent and ongoing basis. And they need to have that. Yeah, right? Partnership models, as we move through this next 6-month window, are going to be really, really critical. Networking, again, it surprised me. Right? I thought I was going to have to take it off the list, but networking has become effective. Yeah, right? Going to events, meeting people, connecting with them, going into breakout rooms, and engaging. Actually, it's working. A lot of people we're meeting are actually booking meetings through networking events. And then finally, LinkedIn as a platform and how you optimize it. We see LinkedIn now as a networking platform. LinkedIn's model for moving forward is it's a networking platform. And using LinkedIn the right way, it opens any door that you really want to do. I mean, obviously, not everybody engages on LinkedIn, not everybody answers, but there are ways and best practices, and getting that strategic model there and that reach out model right within LinkedIn is never been more important. Lead nurturing, again, it's an interesting thing because when you get names coming in and when you have your existing clients, nurturing these contacts strategically is really important. I had a fund manager approach me and not nurturing his contacts properly. And I think that as soon as you start nurturing your contacts and reaching out strategically, sharing content that you're creating, and building out your brand and using different vehicles from newsletters to articles to webinars to various different things that you're doing, and start nurturing, inviting, and engaging with people consistently over 3 months, 6 months, a year. The results, again, profoundly change when you start doing this on a consistent basis. I like to see people having a model there. So what are you doing? How are you doing it? Do you touch them every week? Do you touch them every 2 weeks? You know, are they A leads, B leads, C leads? Same with your clients, same with your partners. You know, I recommend partnerships should be categorized A and B. A, partners, are clients, partners that are rooting for you, they're working well, you have a nurture model for that. And then B's are the ones you're trying to get in there and trying to get optimized. So you have a different model in each of them and how you run them. Booking meetings, again, it's a funny thing, but this is a pivotal thing within any sales model, is how many meetings are your people booking on a weekly basis? How many meetings are you booking? And how are you running your businesses? And we see this as it really is a big hole. It's something that people don't really like. And the reflection of that is that the average number of appointments that most salespeople do is between 0.9 and 1.1 meetings per week with new clients, which is just not enough. So I want to see a minimum of 4. I'd like to see businesses doing 6 to 8 first meetings a week, especially just now because the marketplace is letting you do it. And using LinkedIn, it's very, very simple. Our ratios on booking appointments on LinkedIn is pretty high. We're finding people are having real success on LinkedIn at the moment, more so than ever before. And I think it's because people are using LinkedIn more. I think it's because people are more aware of technology. And I think it's because people are at home and working from home and they've got bandwidth and time to take a 20 or a 30-minute meeting. Emailing, I don't really do it, but it is something that's useful. Calling, again, I haven't picked up the phone in a long time to book a meeting, and WhatsApp. So I know in Australia you don't really use WhatsApp, but email and LinkedIn people do use. And if you've got the right relationships and you've been nurturing them and cultivating, that allows you to step into a target market. So when you look at target market, I think this is where people really struggle. We're finding businesses struggling with this. What is your product and how relevant is it now? Most people are living in an unrealistic bubble. They don't really take a step backwards and assess, how relevant is their product? Does it fit? Is the marketplace that they're operating in working? I saw a PPC business struggling, and it was because they just hadn't adapted to the new market. Their clients they were dealing with was in the old market, the travel and various businesses that were not going to do well for a short period of time or a long period of time. So understanding how relevant your product is, understanding your verticals and the industries who can buy your product, and understanding the persona that you should be talking to. So those are 3 things. Having that clearly delineated, having a workshop with your teams is critical to do that, and sitting down and brainstorming it and listening to all the different opinions on that and testing makes a huge difference. You then step into product fit. What is your product in today's context? A lot of products have to change. People can't spend the same money. They're not going to have the same bandwidth to spend the same money. They're not going to want to spend the same money. They're going to want to do different things. You might have to adapt it, and working that out is really, really important. How does it make the client better during this period? I always think that's a question that I want people to ask is, how do you help your clients actually? Is it relevant? Is it something you've made up and actually it doesn't help them? And then finally, why should they buy it? Yeah, right. What is it? So assessing these things and going through this process of a workshop, with your team, right? You don't need anybody to facilitate it. And addressing these questions makes a big, big difference as you step into building out your marketplace and assessing things. I love the example of Slack. They were a software company building games. They were pretty crap at it. They didn't do a very good job. But what they did do, right, was they built a platform. I met the guy, the CEO of Slack and original founder, and had a really good chat with him about a year ago. And what they did was they had about $1.5 million, $2 million left over. So they took the money and they used that from a gaming program they were doing. They realized it wasn't going to work, and they built Slack, right, and as a product, and then took it to market. And that was how it evolved. It evolved from failure. MailChimp, the same thing, 2001. 2008, when the crash came, they went into the freemium model and went from 85,000 clients to 450,000. And lots of companies are making money. There is a lot of businesses. There's a lot of money sloshing around. I don't see any reason why businesses are not making money and not selling. I think tapping into marketplaces now is easy. It's never been easy. And this is a set of metrics. We pulled it out, put it in a spreadsheet. But you can see here LinkedIn requests being sent out, total connection accepted. So you can see it in week 4 average there. You can see it's jumping from 93 to 66.8. 44 conversations, 6.56 attempts to get a meeting is then converting into 3.75. So there's no excuse for not getting meetings at the moment and for not having meetings in people's diaries. And the activity of your salespeople is at the heart of what goes into your pipeline as such. And same with asking for referrals. This was they all started with 0 referrals basically, and they all at the end are averaging 1.1 referrals per week, which is converting into meetings. And then number of first meetings in the diary, you can see week 4, this was a set of charts from a group of businesses that we were tracking, dropped to 3.76 average, but you can see the number of SAT meetings going to a second meeting actually increased, right? So 2.41 going to second meetings during this period. So this was over the last, not 2 weeks ago, for over a 4-week period. So there is a market there. You've got to understand your marketplace. You've got to be able to pivot and understand how your product fits in. And you've got to have that really deep piece of self-assessment. So I think there's potential, but you've got to have a clear model and a clear set of metrics that sit around it.